Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Dave Riggleman, CEO, Managing Partner of Delta Financial Group. Thanks for joining me, Dave.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jesse. Great to see you.
It's great to have you on the program. I see nice weather behind you. It's a nice time of year for us in Arizona as well. Give us another, what do we got, another 6 weeks of enjoyable stuff before the stickiness comes.
Absolutely. Well, you don't get the sticky weather like I do, though. That's for sure. I'm here in Clearwater, Florida, so we're just bracing for the humidity to return.
Humidity and hurricanes. They all just come at the same time.
We've had plenty in the last couple of years.
But then again, like when it's 120 out here and I look at your weather, I'm like, I'd rather have 90 in humidity than live in an oven.
Understood. Understood.
People in the north are like, be quiet.
Yeah, nobody's feeling sorry for us when they're up in Rochester.
Awesome. Well, Dave, thanks again for joining me.
Sure.
For those people watching that haven't had the privilege of meeting yet, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career today?
Absolutely. So my name is Dave Riggleman, the CEO and Managing Partner of Delta Financial Group. So my background with respect to Delta is we're a relatively new group. We tilted up in October of 2020, kind of an odd time, sort of, in that peak COVID period, but it was just the right time. I have a partner, Adam Woodard, and we had spent a lot of time talking about the opportunity set and where we could potentially put together a group, and we spent a good bit of time building a business plan that we hoped was bulletproof, and we began to sort of mix ourselves together with some folks that we knew in the industry, and tilted our business up, as I said, again in October of 2020. Prior to that, I was with an equipment finance company here in Clearwater, Florida, and that's kind of how Adam and I originally met, which is interesting. Clearwater, Florida, Pinellas County, Florida is not exactly the hotbed of equipment finance, but Adam and I met socially. And Adam, by the way, is a good bit younger than me, and I sometimes refer to Adam as either the youngest brother or oldest son that I never had. Adam he'll turn 40 this year, so he's a youngster relative to all of my gray hair. But Adam had been a partner and a founder of an equipment finance company in Mexico City. Adam is a chartered alternative investment analyst, and he had spent majority of his career on the buy side, both private credit and family office. And an opportunity came across his desk at the family office that he was at in Sarasota, and he liked the opportunity a lot. The principal didn't like it so much, which was this new de novo platform in Mexico City. So give Adam a ton of credit. He pushed in all. He quit his job and he moved to Mexico and helped them get this thing started. It's how much he believed in it. And interestingly, when I met Adam, he had just come back. He was 18 boots on the ground in Mexico. And I'd ask him, I said, do you speak Spanish? And he said, no. He said, only 3 words in Spanish that I know are cerveza, taco, and baño. And I said, well, I guess you got along pretty well.
That's fantastic.
So we Adam and I, when we first met each other, as I said, we started talking about the commonalities and having this equipment finance background. And I had been, as I said, with this equipment finance company for, at that point, about 13 years. And prior to that, I was in securities and investment banking. And I was, the last duty station there was at Raymond James, which is how I ended up in Florida originally. I was formerly with Legg Mason in Baltimore, and Wheat First Securities out of Richmond, Virginia, and then had the opportunity to kind of relocate my family and move down here to Florida. Then I got involved with this equipment finance company locally here, and it worked out pretty well. But yeah, Adam and I have had that great connection from the beginning, and so we decided, there's something here, and we should begin to explore it. It's been great. We've had a really good response from the market. We've had a really good response from the our equity sponsors that are in our capital stack, and it's been kind of a rocket ship for us in the last 3 years.
Perfect. And thank you for sharing that story. So
Sure.
the office is in Clearwater.
Yeah,
Do you have, are all employees in the office? Do you have people throughout the country? What type of deals are you going after, Dave?
sure, sure.
Assets, everything.
Yeah, so for us, we are very FMV focused, and we're very traditional from that standpoint. We like the equipment risk, we like the collateral risk. We think we understand it pretty well. What I did when we kind of curated the team here, we was naturally we reached out to people that we knew in the industry and friends and
Of
people we
course.
had worked with, and so I brought along a couple of people with me from my former shop. One of them is my lady who does all of our operations and docks, and I frequently refer to her as my work wife. And I like being married, so I do exactly what I'm told when it comes to anything that's hers. She's the boss, and Vicky and I have worked together now 17 of the last that's 18 years actually. We had separately, I brought along a guy, Jerry Herman, who was he was with BCI Capital, and he was actually a lender into transactions I was doing formerly, and the timing was just right to bring Jerry in as well. And then we slowly began to build out the group. Our team, our we do originate both indirect and direct, and our direct origination team is throughout the country. And actually, the director of our direct origination group actually sits in Zurich, Switzerland, and
Oh,
he is Tim McCormick is his name, and Tim again fits into that mold of either the youngest brother or oldest son that I never had. Tim also just turned 40 in March, and he has worked with me. Oh, gee whiz. Guess it's been 14 of the last 16 years. And he's a great young man. And he and his wife been in Switzerland now for the last 10 years. His wife is a partner with EY, and that's what brought them to Switzerland. And he manages it seamlessly, and he is terrific. I might mention to you too that we're affiliated with a service disabled veteran owned small business. One of our partners, founding partners here, is a gentleman named Alex Dunmeyer. He's a retired lieutenant commander from the Navy, and with through Alex's relationship and affiliation and ownership in our company, we qualify as a service disabled veteran owned small business. And so we have we do approach the market as a direct originator with the diversity kind of angle, and that's been very, very well received in our space. On the indirect side of things, we chase the same capital markets that just about everybody does, and we have two gentlemen that really chase the capital markets for us. The third area for us has really been what I call vendor wholesale, where we support vendor captive programs, and we're a funding source for some of those. And they've been rather large groups, and we've managed to fit our way in there. Because we're comfortable with the FMV, and separately we have that service disabled veteran, that diversity angle to offer them as they go to market.
sure. So aside from the gentleman in Switzerland, you have other people remote in the U.S.?
Absolutely, yeah, all over
Okay.
the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah, and interestingly, we are 22 people in our organization, and which is still relatively small, but we've got people spread out all over the country, both sales and operations folks, and so we're comfortable with that kind of a remote environment when needed.
Sure, sure. And then from a business perspective, are you doing any international business, or is it just in the States?
We're just in the States presently. All of our funding is focused. Call it really North America. I mean, we haven't really done much, but we're very North American focused.
Got it. Well, you have to shake that guy's hand or give him a fist bump in Switzerland. His hours must be all over the place.
He's a night owl by nature, so it works out just fine. So but he does it without seeming any difference in everything. And thankfully with things like the video conferencing, you can do
Sure,
that. Yeah.
sure, sure, absolutely.
And so
So October of 2020, were you and Adam just like getting stir crazy, just on lockdown? Like,
very
I
much
want to go do this, and I want to, like, let's just do this now, because that's still, I mean,
100%.
it's like 6 months into it. Like,
It,
there was no
yeah.
really, like, when is this ending?
No, exactly. We were stir crazy. We had been working on this and talking about it for a while. We had approached, a number of different sponsors to back started. Finally, we just said, you know what, let's just cobble together what we can. We pushed in all of our chips and said, let's go do this. Our path from there was really then a sprint to get some permanent financing in place. And so to put it in perspective, Jesse, we went from October of 2020 at a standstill, and then in August of 21, we closed on our first private equity transaction, and we brought in a sponsor that came in and bought 40% of our operating company. That, keeping in mind, is pre-revenue. We haven't done anything yet. And this is Peak Rock Capital out of Austin, Texas, who came in originally. And then separately, they funded a special purpose vehicle with capital to put into lease transactions. And that's where we got started. We pretty well fully deployed that facility, and we knew we were going to need more capital. And then in August of 22, we closed on a very large facility with Oaktree Capital Management. If you're familiar with Oaktree, they're arguably the largest private credit investor in the country. And then in July of 23, we closed on a third facility with Eagle Point Credit. And Eagle Point is out of Greenwich, Connecticut. For us, what our goal was we're very much kind of a mentality of crawl, walk, run. And for us, we started with a very, very focused approach to the market with the Peak Rock Capital. We knew that we needed to widen our aperture a little further and expand a little more. So that's what the Oaktree Capital brought us. And then separately, we wanted to move down market into the sub-investment grade space from a credit, and we extended term and that sort of thing in all the facility with Eagle Point. And it's really worked out well. So now we are currently funding out of two vehicles, and we will be bringing on a third funding vehicle here in the next couple of 3 months, which I mentioned to you about where we are. Yeah.
Sure.
So we are in the throes of it. Literally, we kicked it off last week and a half ago. Our global fundraise for an institutional fund that we're raising. We have our bankers that are currently in market chasing the capital. Adam is literally on a call right now with an investor group today, and as I mentioned, we've got rather coming up, which is going to be fun, I guess, but it's a young man's game for where they're going.
Well, and plus, based on the rate that you're going, I mean, don't sit down too long, because in 2026 we're gonna have to go for round 4. I mean,
we will.
You're gonna be doing this.
We will.
So it's fine. It's
Adam,
fine.
That's the goal. I said to Adam a long time ago, I said, if this works out the way I think it will, you'll never stop raising capital, and that's hopefully what we're going to do.
In your life prior to joining the equipment finance industry, did you know some of these other institutional investors beforehand? Did you work with them?
I did. I knew some of them, and Adam did as well. So we had some connectivity to start with. And
because there's some names that you're mentioning that I'm kind of like, I've heard of them, but don't know anything about them. So it's more of let's see if that came into play a little bit here.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. And fortunately too, with respect to my background in the investment banking side of things, the company I worked for here in Clearwater was a firm that when I was, this goes back to my days, the predecessor firm to Wheat First, which was a company called Butcher and Singer out of Philadelphia, where I started my career.
Isn't that a steakhouse?
It is. It is now a steakhouse, and it's a really good one. Have you been there?
Yeah, I just remember I took people there. I think last time I was in Philadelphia. Sorry, if you mentioned something food related, like I'm all about that. So,
no problem. No, it's in fact that is so interestingly, that is where the Butcher and Singer offices were originally, and that's an old bank building. Yeah, and so that bullpen.
That makes sense.
that bullpen, which is now the dining room, that was the original bank floor, and Howard Butcher III had his desk right in the middle of all of it. He was the CEO of the company, and he refused to have an office. He just worked from a desk next door to the guys in the bullpen making phone calls. Yeah.
They turn a vault into like a private room.
Probably. I've only eaten there once, and we had a great meal.
Okay, I'll be there in 3 weeks. I might have to make a little pit stop and just check this out again. But that name was just that name was unique. So I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So we ended up. So I was actually involved in underwriting an equipment finance company in the Philadelphia area, which is how I got connected to equipment finance. And
Okay.
we raised some capital for this way back in 1988, 1989, and we raised some capital for this equipment finance company.
Are you allowed to
And
say the name of the company?
oh, sure, sure. It's called Commonwealth Capital is who it
Okay.
was.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And so from there, I'd stayed in touch with the folks that had Commonwealth. And after I came down to Florida, they're coincidentally we're here in Clearwater. And sort of one thing led to another. I was here with Raymond James and we ended up having a conversation. And, it was one of those things where she said to me, "What do I have to do to get you to come to work for me?" And I said, "Well, make me an offer and we'll see. And we'll see." But it was great because, for me, I knew a little bit about the business from way back in the day, but, really got to get in and get my hands dirty and, really, really dig through it and learn it, which has been great. So, yeah, we've had an interesting combination. Both Adam and I came both from, the equipment, had a little equipment finance experience, and we had, some little different sides of the finance world where he was on the buy side and I was largely on the sell side before.
Sure. Sure. So, so total of almost what, 20 years?
Oh my
18
goodness.
years
Yeah.
in equipment
Yeah.
finance.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have a conversation on what are your thoughts on, this industry. The fact that you were thinking about it even when you were at the investment bank. Just, I guess, general thoughts on the industry that we're a part of, Dave.
Well, I think that's part of what drew me into it is that I was just so fascinated with it way back in the day. I'll never forget when we did the gentleman that owned and founded the Commonwealth Capital, a gentleman named George Springsteen. He did a financing for the folks at Butcher and Singer, and basically he did a sale lease back on a bunch of FF&E for them. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in there and they were talking about it, and Mac Butcher, Howard Butcher III's son, looked at him and he looked at George and said, "You're going to make a lot of money at this." And George looked at him and said, "I intend to." And so that has stuck with me for years, Jesse. So I really, have always been fascinated with the business. I welcome the opportunity to be back involved in it. We think that we've not necessarily built a better mousetrap, but we think that here, what we've done at Delta, we've drawn on a lot of collective experience, some good relationships, and a commitment that we've made both on the social side of things with the service disabled veteran, and really the commitment that we've made to provide, low cost financing and high quality customer service. That's really what we're about. We strive to have the transaction, every transaction that we do. It was funny. I said this to our sales team, not last year, but the year before at a sales meeting. My kids gave me a shirt for Christmas, and I opened the box, and on the inside of the box, there was a little a thing that says, "Every day should feel this good." And I guess when they're meant is when you get one of these shirts, it should feel this good.
Oh.
And so I said, I took that to the sales team, and I said, and we kind of we mocked it up and we put something on the screen, and I said, "I want every transaction to feel this good." In other words, I want our customers to realize that this was a good transaction. This was we were easy to work with. We were easy with documentation. We were accommodative, and that they want to look at it and go, "You know what? All of our deals should feel this good." And that's sort of the message we like to send.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah.
And what was the brand?
Vineyard Vines.
The shirt, was it comfortable?
Awesome shirt. Have 6 of them now. So I'm easy. I'm easy. They just, so dad gets one for Christmas, birthday, Father's Day. It's easy.
Fine. They just give you a knockoff and see if you'll realize it's something else.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, so last week in Chicago, or I guess this will air a couple weeks later. So we were in Chicago, I guess I should say. Just thoughts on the funding conference. You've been going to that for a while.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that event?
It's great event as always. And don't love the hotel that they do it in, but that's another conversation.
I'm a Hilton snob, so
Okay.
they always put me on the executive floor. The only challenge I have is if you go up there late at night, the executive elevator with the chair in it. Well, don't
Oh,
sit down.
okay. Okay,
Don't sit
don't sit
down.
down.
Don't sit down. Don't sit.
No. The hotels is just, it's fine. It's but no,
It's aged. It's
it's
aged.
aged. Yeah. So but we're, as far as the conference goes, we work really hard in advance of that. We literally just book our schedule as full as we possibly can. We got there by, late morning on Monday, and then we didn't leave until, I think my flight was at 3 o'clock on Thursday. So, even though the conference is only, Tuesday and Wednesday
Yeah.
ish,
Yeah. Ish.
we ish, we tend to stretch it out with a lot of good results, and we do make the most of it. And I think it's wonderful. It's probably the only place that I can think of that as an industry we can be together, and everybody is receptive to sitting down and having that 30-minute conversation about how can we work together. And quite frankly, we as mostly a buyer of deals, we walked away, and already this week, a number of transactions that we had discussed with different partners already made its way in, and we're working on them now. So that's exactly what we look for.
That's fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
and to your team's credit, the conferences that I've been at, annuals and funding included, you guys are always hustling. Like I sit there and I'm like, oh, there's someone back. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we tend to try to get into a conspicuous spot and camp out and claim that spot, and then just have our friends come see us every 30 minutes. It seems to work out pretty well.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And then I want to say our paths. I mean, I know we've met in the past, but I think we truly got to know each other last year at the Stonebriar event when we were golfing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so let's talk about like those type of events, and I mean that's just an added bonus in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no, and it's a shame. I'm sorry I'm not going to make it this year. That's a nice event, and the Stonebriar guys are great people. We really appreciate the relationship we have there, with Steve and Dave. It's just been great. We do think those are great events as well. In fact, we host one of our own, and we did one here in Clearwater last year, and we're going to do another one. Jesse, I'll have to get you an invite to come if you like come see this. Yeah.
Now,
in September.
It's not. Oh, okay, I was going to say it's not around spring training. Okay, got it. Because I learned that too. So make another trip. It's fine.
For sure. No. We tried to do something very similar, and it was on a much smaller scale, frankly, but we did the same kind of a format, and it really worked out well. And it was great to be able to, have a lot of fellowship with our customers and people that we work with, and then separately being able to. The one thing about this industry, and I will say this, I can't think of another industry that is so willing to share with each other. And that is a wonderful thing. And everybody always seems to be like, hey, look, we want to work together. Let's figure out a way to work together. How can we all do business together? And that's rare, I think, in any industry, I should say.
Sure. I mean, that was my, I want to say, third Stonebriar event that I've been to. And Dave and crew, they do or I guess if I don't say Carrie's name, Dave will probably yell at me. Carrie does a fantastic job putting on that event. I'm excited for next week. I have to be careful of what I tell Brooke when I call her up, and she's like, hey, so how was work today? What?
I worked so hard.
so hard, but back hurts.
That's because you're swinging too hard, my friend.
Yeah, well, you golf with me. You've seen it.
Yes, exactly.
No, but to your point, though, it's like you sit there and it's probably people you compete with, and you're just having casual conversations because there's enough in this industry to go around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we feel that way. We take that attitude too, that there's going to be there's going to be opportunities where, we're going to need someone to help us with something as well. Something's going to either come in that's got too big of a bite size, or it's going to have the wrong flavor, and we need to find someone. And if we've developed good, solid partnerships and relationships, then we know that we can count on those, and that's
Sure.
been really, really vital for us. So yeah, we hosted an event like that last February here in Clearwater. We did. We had kind of an interesting little place. It's a historic inn that actually sits on the grounds of the Bel Air Country Club in Clearwater.
Oh,
And the Bel Air Country Club is technically, they claim to have the oldest golf course in Florida, and it's pretty cool. And this old resort, this old hotel is very small. It's 35 rooms. But it was part of a much, much bigger old railroad hotel. It was a Henry Plant hotel.
okay.
And eventually the hotel just kind of went into disrepair. They salvaged the center section of the hotel, and then they moved it a couple of miles into the spot where it is today. And it's pretty cool. Now we've outgrown that. So we're actually going to move our event this year to a sister facility, which is on Clearwater Beach, and the Sand Pearl Resort. And then we're going to do some golf, but the focus is going to be on some deep sea fishing this year. So we're going to look forward to doing that with everybody.
Make sure you let me know those dates, man.
I'm going to sign the contract next.
Brooke, I got something going on. I got a really important meeting I got to be at.
Yeah, exactly. And the good news is, you come to something like this, and the whole industry, and you've been already, you made introductions for me to people that I didn't know. And that's, again, I'm so amazed at this industry and how everybody is so willing to share. And that's
Absolutely.
great.
Absolutely. And to your credit, also as a business owner, if it's not going to be a good fit, or I might struggle through a little bit of it, it's not really in my wheelhouse, let's give it to someone that can knock it out of the park. Right. And that's going to come back fivefold if you do that.
Absolutely is how we feel.
Yeah. So Dave, I ask everyone that I have on the program to give me a little fun fact about themselves. So something that makes you tick outside of, day-to-day.
Oh my goodness. What makes me tick outside of day-to-day work? Wow. I'm gonna get a little sappy on you. My wife. We have been married, be 38 years this month in April, or excuse me, May. And we've been together since we were in high school. So she was 14 and I was 16 and when we met, and we have been together ever since. And so yeah, we have three boys that are 35, 32, and will be 30 here in a few months. They're great. We love our kids. They're awesome. But my wife is what keeps me straight, and I just I'm thankful every day that we're married.
So where are we going for our 40th anniversary? Now, keep in mind, she's most likely going to watch or listen to this. So sorry to put you on the spot.
I don't know. I'll let her choose. How about that?
Cop out. It's fair. You know what? It's a very quick, great response. Sorry, I tried.
No worries.
So I guess my final question I have for you, Dave, is at the end of the day, why should someone want to do business with Dave and Delta Financial Group?
Oh, I think that's for us, we think it's pretty self-evident that, we've done a good job, I think, of stacking our capital. We know that we've got an efficient cost of funds, so that translates over to the customer for sure. And as I said, our goal is to just make every transaction just as seamless as possible, whether it's on the direct or the indirect side of it. We really, our documentation folks, our underwriting folks, we're all committed to that same thing, that we want every transaction to feel that good. That's really what we want. So yeah, that's what we're hopeful for. And we want to be known, especially that we're reliable. We have capital and we can get deals done, and we'll do them, and we're going to respond quickly. That's really everything that we think is important.
Well, excellent, sir. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing your story and talking more about Delta. Look forward to, I don't know when our paths will cross again, at least in September.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Hopefully before then. Hopefully
Yeah,
before.
be great, be great. Well, I don't know that we want to go to a Mountaineers game in the fall.
That's right. We do have a West Virginia connection as well.
We should probably share a little of that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, yeah.
Just a minute.
Just a minute. So I'll let you lead that one off, sir.
So no, you know, Jesse, I was so, when I first, you know, I think I first got connected to you, and I looked on your LinkedIn and I saw you went to West Virginia University. I'm like, oh my goodness. Now, as I told you before, I was born in Morgantown, and so I my parents had a very untraditional college experience. My dad was the first person in his family ever to go to college. Born and raised in West Virginia. My mother, West Virginian. My dad, it was a big deal for him to be able to go to college, and he paid for his own way through college, worked full time. Got married at the end of his sophomore year to my mom, who then was a nurse at Ruby Memorial Hospital in Morgantown. And I was then born in November of his senior year in college. So my father was going to school full time, was you know, working full time, was married, and had a child. So a very untraditional college experience, but you know, he is a beacon for me in terms of hard work and ethic. And you know, my father is kind of, you know, my guiding light in a lot of ways. And anytime any of my kids start to complain about, you know, whatever, how hard, tough life is, I always say, you need to just look at your grandfather and I'll tell you how hard life is. Having said that, I broke his heart and did not go to West Virginia University, and neither did any of my brothers. However, we were permanent fixtures probably from the time I was 5 years old till I was in high school at WVU football games every Saturday afternoon. So that's
why as long as you didn't go to Marshall, I'm sure he was okay with
it. He was okay. He's exactly right. As long as he didn't go to Marshall. And but no, he's very proud of his West Virginia heritage. His Florida license plate says WVU 63. So
I got WVU all over my house and different things. I got some golf covers, a towel. You know, it was a great 4 years experience for me, and it was good that we had that connection back to Morgantown. So, I mean, with UCF now in the Big 12, I mean, with Arizona and Arizona State joining it, I'm like,
there you go. You're going to see it. You're going to see the ears. That's right.
So I don't know if I'll be going to Morgantown next year, but I know they're playing in Cincinnati.
Oh, wow.
And the guys from Great American are going to be getting some tickets. So yeah, I can dangle that in front of you.
Keep me posted. That'd be great.
Awesome, Dave. Well, it's been a pleasure, sir. And hopefully their baseball team can do something.
Absolutely.
You know, they were ranked, then they weren't ranked, and they went back in, and I don't know, but it's exciting. It's nice to talk about. We can talk about that all day.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate your time today, sir.
Mine as well.
Thanks for joining me.
Appreciate yours. Thank you.
And we'll be talking soon. Thank you.
Sounds good. All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.